Thanks, guys. We begin with a Fox News alert now. America is mourning one of the West Virginia National Guardsmen shot on Wednesday, just blocks away from the White House. President Trump announcing the tragic news that 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom has passed away. 24-year-old Andrew Wolf remains in critical condition. This is the Faulkner Focus. Hello, everyone. I'm Julie Banderas in for Harris today. D.C.'s emergency responders paid respects to Sarah Beckstrom last night with a dignified transfer of her body from the hospital to the medical examiner. President Trump, meantime, speaking out about those victims last night.
She was savagely attacked. She's dead. She's not with us. Incredible person. Outstanding in every single way, in every department. That's horrible. The other young man is fighting for his life. He's in very bad shape. He's fighting for his life, and hopefully we'll get better news with respect to him.
Reactions pouring in for Beckstrom. West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey says, quote, Sarah served with courage, extraordinary resolve, and an unwavering sense of duty to her state and to her nation. We mourn the loss of a young woman who gave everything she had in defense of others. Attorney General Pam Bondi writes this, please pray for Sarah's family. America will never forget her courage. The suspected shooter, meantime, is an Afghan national. He entered the U.S. under a Biden-era humanitarian parole program. U.S. Attorney for D.C., Jeanine Pirro, announcing she has upgraded his charges to first-degree murder and promising a thorough investigation and justice.
There will be no stone unturned in this case. We will know everything about what happened. We have pretty much every agency, every investigative agency in this country involved right now around the clock. The intent and the determination of the men and women that I was working with and I spent the night with around the clock in Washington is very clear. We will know everything we need to know.
Former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker joins me in a moment. But first, we're going to go to Mark Meredith, who joins us live in Washington with the very latest on this. Hey, Mark.
Julie, good morning to you. Prosecutors are calling this a case of premeditated murder. And as you mentioned, the feds are planning to seek the death penalty. So far, though, investigators have yet to say publicly what they think may have motivated this suspect to drive cross-country and carry out this attack. The area where the shooting took place has reopened as the investigation now shifts to the suspect's past. He's married, believed to have 5 kids. The FBI says the investigation expands beyond just this country. That's because the man who came to the U.S. from Afghanistan in 2021 previously worked with the U.S. government, including the CIA in Kandahar. President Trump appeared to indicate he believed the suspect may have mental health issues.
U.S. officials say that the suspect worked very closely with the CIA in Afghanistan for years, that he was vetted, and the vetting came up clean.
He went cuckoo. I mean, he went nuts, and that happens.
The New York Times spoke to a childhood friend who asked to be identified only as Muhammad because he feared Taliban reprisals, said that the suspect suffered from mental health issues and was disturbed by the casualties his unit had caused. Tributes continue to pour in for the 2 victims of the attack, identified as 20-year-old Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, who, as you mentioned, passed away overnight, and the U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, who remains in critical condition. Today, West Virginia's governor says his state's going to hold a moment of silence to honor both of their services. That'll be in the 2 o'clock hour. The governor says he's also going to still send people, resources to the nation's capital, like these 2 heroes, to assist with the president's goal, Julie, to make the district a safer place. Julie.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark Meredith. Nicole Parker, Fox News contributor and former FBI special agent, joins me now. It's no surprise first-degree murder charges is the obvious choice. There are going to be many more charges, though, down the pipeline. Where do you believe this investigation stands? Because this is not just a statewide investigation. This is a nationwide investigation and, quite frankly, should be a worldwide investigation, considering he came from Afghanistan under the Biden administration and was in this country for 4 years before carrying out this brazen and weak attack.
Absolutely. First of all, I'd like to offer my condolences to Sarah's family. She is a true American hero. I don't know if people understand this, but she came voluntarily on Thanksgiving to serve when a lot of people wanted to be with their families. And that, to me, is true heroism. And she was unnecessarily, in a heinous crime, shot and killed in the line of duty. And we will never forget her service, and we will honor and respect her always. One thing that I feel very strongly about and confident about is that Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, and the U.S. Attorney Pirro, no stone will be left unturned. And I can tell you, if there's one person that I would want charging my case, it would be Judge Pirro. She means business, and she will ensure that justice is served. That is what she deserves. That's what our country deserves. But I think you're exactly right. This is not just a U.S. case. This broadens into the worldwide spectrum because he allegedly had been, working with the CIA in the past. And let me just tell you, it wouldn't be the first time that someone may have been helping the United States in the past and then turns against us and harms our own people. So we need to be very, very concerned about that. That is very, very alarming. But again, looking back at the entire vetting process in general of what occurred back in 2021, I myself was at the FBI. I can tell you firsthand that the Biden administration dropped the ball. First of all, this catastrophic withdrawal from Afghanistan never should have occurred. But then they turned to the FBI and said, look, we need FBI agents and analysts to volunteer to go over to these foreign countries. I know several agents myself that I've been in contact with who are very good friends of mine. They went to Doha and Qatar, and they can tell me, and I will tell you firsthand, a direct quote, I worked that mission. Those people weren't vetted, period. Those are people that were on the ground level working the investigation, vetting these individuals. They were seeing red flags. The DOD contractors were partnered up with FBI agents.
Right.
They were sounding the alarm on potential threats, and they were being ignored. And the Biden administration and the State Department were saying, let them come in.
Yeah, I was speaking with Art Del Cueto yesterday. Jeanine Pirro just echoed it once again, that the vetting process is a complete joke. Bagram Air Force Base was a disaster. The pullout out of Afghanistan was a disaster. And people were actually vetted, according to Art Del Cueto. He told me by fingerprints. They would do a handprint or a fingerprint. If they weren't already in the system, they were let in. That is not a background check. That is not vetting. And what happened for the last 4 years? Why weren't they followed up upon? These people were allowed to come into this country legally and then let free. And now you have to imagine the amount of people that are still in this country who have not been followed up upon. Where are they?
Julie, you are exactly right. It is a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. We do not know who is in our country. And those that think, Mayorkas gets out there and says, oh, yes, everyone was vetted. Mayorkas, either you're turning a blind eye to the facts or people are not telling you the truth because they were not vetted. That is not true information. And now we are sitting ducks in the United States of America.
You're right.
I know people that left because of the service that they gave in the aftermath of 9/11. And all of that work for 20 years that we did to keep our country safe, they blew it overnight.
And by the way, as far as Mayorkas is concerned, there were 120,000 people that were evacuated out of Afghanistan. Over 60,000 came here into the United States. Point blank, when Mayorkas was asked by a reporter, how many people have you vetted? He said he didn't know. So he didn't know because they weren't vetted. A retired FBI agent, meantime, who investigated terrorism, is now speaking out about the investigation into the shooting suspect. Let's listen to that.
Did he migrate here with good intentions and for some reason become disaffected with society or fail to assimilate and then self-radicalize and then decide to mobilize with a target of opportunity? I think that as the investigation proceeds, FBI Director Kash Patel has said that they are looking at this as an act of terrorism, that facts will become available and help us determine exactly what his radicalization process was.
The president is now putting a stop and a halt to all third world countries of immigrants coming into this country until they're able to, number one, track down all the ones that are already here. But the fact of the matter is this suspect was here for 4 years. He obviously radicalized. We don't know if it was self-radicalization. We don't know a motive, but we obviously know he was out to kill and get back at America, who then helped his country. It's disgusting, but what needs to be done in order to track down those that did sneak in under the Biden administration legally?
It's a very daunting task, and bless President Trump and his administration, because what they have walked into is an absolute disaster zone. They are basically being asked, hey, go find the people that came into our country that shouldn't even be here. And we're not just talking about Afghanistan. Several agents and I have been talking. It was the southern border as well. We have millions of people here that we don't know. And when you say that you're vetting someone, how do you vet someone when you don't even know their name? How do you vet someone when they come from a primitive country like Afghanistan? They don't even know their true date of birth. They would just, everyone would say January 1st and then make up a date. How do you vet someone when there's no derogatory information in the system to compare them to? Anyone that believes that, I'm sorry, I'm not fear mongering. I am speaking the truth. We have a major problem on our hands, and they are doing their best. That's why they have ICE out there trying to get out these terrorists and violent criminals from our country. And then Democrats are up in arms about the fact that we're trying to make our country safe. If they didn't learn anything from this catastrophic murder of this fine young woman who was out serving our country, it is time to wake up.
I need to also add, not only did he have connections to the CIA and the military, but he actually started working in Afghanistan with these connections at the age of 15. Why? He lied about his age. You have to be at least 18 years old to actually get involved with the military in Afghanistan. He was, in fact, 15. So they didn't catch on to that lie. A very simple lie to figure out. Of course, they wouldn't figure out that he had ill intentions for this country when they let him in. Nicole Parker, thank you very much for talking to us today.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.